and we'll get started. So this is our good morning yoga class. And it's advertised as cool, calm, and collected. So it's been very, very hot where I am. And so some of our yoga practices might need to be adjusted as we deal with, it was, my car read 41 degrees Celsius one day. I don't think it was really that hot, but my car thermometer read that. So when it's that hot, we adjust the practice a little bit. So we're going to start in a seated position, and when you take the seat that you've decided to use, make sure your hip joints are higher than your knee joints. So that might mean propping underneath your tushy or sitting in a chair if that's more comfortable. I'm going to start with a little bit of breath awareness. So just rooting the sitting bones into the earth, relaxing through the legs. And if it doesn't feel relaxing to sit this way, then please consider sitting in a chair, because being on the ground is not necessary. You can close your eyes if that helps you to focus a little bit more. And begin to breathe pretty much exclusively in and out through the nose. And we'll make a point of evening out the breath so the inhale matches the exhale. And that could take you a little while to kind of get that organized. And the reason we might want to have a goal of evening out the inhale to the exhale is this is tremendously calming and cooling to the nervous system. The nervous system feels very comforted when you match the inhale to the exhale. And this is one of the ways that we can cool and calm down, is to speak to the nervous system that all is well. Once you've got the breath even between the inhale and the exhale, I'm going to ask you if you can start to think about inhaling for 5 seconds and exhaling for the same length of time. So you can count in your own mind as you inhale 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, and then exhale the same length of time. And let's take about 5 breaths, looking for a 5-second inhale and a 5-second exhale. Now, if that breath is really uncomfortable, it just does not fit you today, don't worry about it. But there is a little bit of a reason why I've asked for that. Okay. And then from the seated position, we might begin a little bit of movement. So you can just stretch your legs out in front of you, wiggle the toes, point the toes away from you and flex the ankles a couple times, and roll the ankles around in both directions a couple times. So just awakening the feet. Let's do the same thing for the fingers. Stretch and move the fingers. Roll the wrists a couple times in both directions. Good. And then you can fold back into your comfortable seat. I'm not sure exactly what you were using, but sitting up on your cushion or your chair. Let's come into a little bit of movement. We'll first notice the sitting bones as they're perfectly rooted down into the ground. And we'll just roll a little bit forward on the sitting bones and then roll over and back of the sitting bones. So it's like we're sitting on a rocking chair. So when you're in a rocking chair, you don't look at the ground and then look up at the sky as you rock the rocking chair. You look straight ahead at whomever you're talking to or whatever you're looking at. So pretend you're on a rocking chair and you're just rocking over the sitting bones. And we're timing this movement now with that 5-second inhale and that 5-second exhale. We're starting to massage over the musculature and connective tissue of the pelvic floor, such an important center in our yogic work. And we're starting to massage the buttocks muscles that are so important in our movement in yoga. Let's do one more breath. And then come back to a seated position. And we're going to come into a little bit of massage of our arms. So if you could just kind of bring one hand to one arm and just kind of start like you were trying to dry off after being in the pool and you don't have a towel. So you can apply just a little bit of force or pressure, but not too much. You might take a moment just to kind of massage around the wrists, find the bony pieces of the wrists and just give them, notice massaging around the bony bumps of the wrist. Just lightly, it doesn't have to be a lot of pressure. Move the skin around on top of the bones a little bit and just kind of give that little love there. And then take that and bring it right up to the shoulder. And then while we're doing the shoulder, let's take our hand and kind of grab a hold of this tense muscle, the upper trapezius it's called. And like you were squeezing a sponge at your kitchen sink, just squeeze and manipulate for a little bit. You can move up towards the neck and then back down towards the shoulder joint, just squeezing in there a little bit. Good. And then we'll move back down to the elbow, and can you feel that there's a bony protrusion on the outside of your elbow? Take your fingers and hook it onto the bony protrusion on the outside of the elbow. You feel some soft tissue just right here. Good. And then we're going to just start to move a little bit. So let's take an inhale, move the elbow across, and our fingers hooked over that bony condyle, and then exhale, twist, and then inhale, move across, and then exhale, twist a little bit. So just kind of getting into the upper back, you might feel that here. And our fingers are just hooked over that outer elbow bone. Using that 5-second inhale and 5-second exhale. No need to rush. I'm trying to get calm and cool today. Good. And then we can take this a little bit further. You can still stay hooked on here. And it's almost like the Phantom of the Opera is throwing his cape. So let's take an inhale, throw the cape over, and then as you exhale, open the cape out to the back. So it's like you're throwing the Phantom of the Opera cape over your body and then revealing. So there's a little bit of movement laterally now and a little bit of forward folding going on, but you're kind of guiding this or initiating this from this outer elbow bone. Let's do this a couple more times. Again, timing it to your 5-second inhale and 5-second exhale. And then just remember which arm you are working on. We're not going to go to the other side right away. Good, good? Okay. And then whatever side you were working on with your arms, stick that leg out and then go down to the ankle and do the same thing for the ankle that you did for the elbow joint. So you want, or the wrist joint. You want to find the bony protrusions in the ankle joint and massage around them. Not maybe right over top of them, but massage around all the bones that you find. So you might find your heel bones, you might find your ankle bones, and just massage around them. And you're not digging deep. This is not deep tissue massage. This is moving the skin on the bones, really, and just getting some circulation. And then once you get the ankle joint down on the same side, start moving up the leg like you moved up the arm, bringing the energy up from where you were massaging right in towards the groins. So moving up, up, up the leg. And then we'll do the same thing for the knee that we did for the ankle. So if you feel at the outside of the knee, you'll feel a bony bone on the outside of the knee. Find a bony bone, hook your fingers under the bone into some soft tissue, and then we'll do the same thing. When you're ready, we're going to inhale, pull the knee over, and exhale, open the knee out. And we're pulling from the outside of the knee here. We're initiating this with just a couple fingers. So I'm not pulling would be the wrong word. Guiding, supporting, encouraging might be better words. But we're moving the hip joint, but we're initiating it from the knee. All right. And then we can do some circles in both directions. And then we're going to take downward facing dog. And I know we've only done one side. And if down dog on the floor doesn't work, remember the chair option is always there. I'm going to come off of my support and move my way into downward facing dog. Just taking a moment, take your 5-second inhales, 5-second exhales. The side of your body that you were working on, that you were working to stretch, how does that feel different than the side that we didn't touch yet? Just take one more breath here. And then come back to your comfortable seat. So that could be sitting in a chair, or it could be back onto some supports, and we'll do the other side of the body. So what we were doing when we were kind of moving through that one side of your body was we were waking up the fascia. We were waking up the connective tissue. A lot of times in yoga, we wake up in the morning, perhaps when we're stiff, I know I do, and you think, oh, I better go do some big stretches. But a lot of times, we don't have to work so hard. We can be more subtle in our work. So let's try the other side. Let's find the bony protrusions on the wrist and start to massage gently around the bones that you feel in the wrist. So if we have a class, as we were doing today, where we want to stay really cool and calm, using the even ratio breath, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, will speak to the nervous system and help us to calm in the nervous system. And then also, we don't have to do so many jumping around big, deep postures in order to get a really effective yoga release. So we can stay a lot cooler. We don't have to generate so much heat. And then once you have massaged the wrist a little bit, begin moving your hands up the arm. Again, it doesn't need to be a lot of pressure. Different days will bring different degrees of tolerance for pressure. So you don't want to leave bruises, of course. This is just a movement of energy as much as anything, really. And then once we've got ourselves into this position, we'll sponge the upper trap. So this is a squeezing and releasing motion with the hand from the neck down to the shoulder. And you might have noticed when we came into downward facing dog that when you alert the musculature, when you bring the energy through the connective tissue into the muscles, they actually can perform things like downward facing dog's a good posture to use the whole muscles of the body. They can perform with less effort. So this is something that like elite athletes might do in order to prepare for their event. Okay. And then we'll move back down to the elbow, find the outer bony bit of the elbow, hook your fingers into the outer bony bit of the elbow. And then as you inhale, pull the arm across the body. And as you exhale, pull the arm open, twisting a bit to the opposite side. Use your 5-second inhale and your 5-second exhale. And you may notice a little bit of a loosening in the upper back. A couple more times, moving slowly with awareness. The nervous system likes when it knows what's coming next. And if we want to stay really cool, you don't need to rush. But you can still get a very effective release in your muscles. Really good stretch without forcing. Okay, good. Keeping a hold of this, but changing the movement a little bit, the Phantom of the Opera cape. So moving over forward and stretching to the side, and then moving right back. So it's a much larger movement now with the arm that's guiding the Phantom of the Opera cape. Using your 5-second inhale, your 5-second exhale. Couple more breaths. And then releasing that, taking the same leg, stretching it out, and we'll get a hold of the ankle and massage around the bones of the ankle. So you don't need to put much pressure right where it's really bony, but if you go just around that, you're gonna get more of the fascia. You're gonna get more of the musculature and connective tissue. So around the bones of the ankle. And then moving your hands up, up, up. And on this side, let's do something a little bit different. We all know our Achilles tendon. Achilles tendon runs from the base of the heel up the back of the calf until your calf muscle starts to bulge out. So the Achilles tendon actually runs all the way halfway up your calf, really. So finding your Achilles tendon and giving special attention on this side to your Achilles tendon. And again, you're not doing deep tissue massage. I don't want you to leave bruises or anything. You're just kind of moving the flesh about. So you don't have to get right into the muscle. I have very bulbous calf muscles, so it's easy for me to feel where my tendon starts if you don't have such thick muscles like I do. And that's a hereditary thing. I didn't work out or anything. Then it might not be as distinct, but you want to stay in the lower half to third of your calf. And you can go right down to the heel, even massage right down to where your heel meets the floor or the earth. We're just doing a little bit different there on this side. And then coming up to the knee, finding the outer bone of the knee right about here. And I can hook my fingers kind of into some softer tissue there, and then do the movement of the hip circle. And this is timed with an inhale and an exhale, using that 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale. And then we can do the other direction as well. And after we do this, in a very calm and cool way, let's come back into down dog. And I'm interested to know if our work that we did on the Achilles tendon makes a difference to how we experience the two sides of the body. So without any obvious pushing or stretching, do you feel like the side you work the Achilles tendon, that heel comes a little bit closer to the earth without any special effort? Do you feel like there's more activity along that leg without any special effort? Let's take a couple more breaths in downward facing dog. See if you can really consciously use the 5-second inhale and the 5-second exhale. And then let's please walk your feet up towards your hands, coming into forward fold. And you're welcome to work a little bit as we have in forward fold, as we have been. You can take your arms, bend at the elbows, take your fingertips to the bony bits of your shoulders behind your back. So depending on how long your arms are, how long your back is, you kind of hook around the shoulder blades a little bit. And then just a little gently rocking to one side and then the other. Let your head be heavy. And you might feel we're into the musculature of the upper back again. Let your arms hang. Take one more breath. Notice the space in the upper back. As you inhale, bring your hands to your thighs, lift your chest up halfway and extend the back long. Exhale back into the forward fold. Inhale, half lift. And see if you can really think about the space in the upper back that we've been kind of massaging and feeling in our preparatory work. Good. And on your next inhale, again, we're going for these 5-second inhale and exhale breaths. Lift up, straight back, all the way, and we can bring the hands to the heart. I'm just going to adjust my computer angle a little tiny bit here. There we go. And we find mountain pose. So taking a moment to really feel your feet plant into the earth. And feel the whole back body kind of cascading down towards the ground. So the sacrum and the tailbone might feel a little bit heavy. The buttocks muscles a little bit heavy. The shoulder blades a little bit heavy. The base of the skull a little bit heavy. You could almost imagine that there was a nice cool waterfall. You were standing underneath it and it was encouraging the whole back of your body like it's a shower. And relax towards the earth. And then take a few deep breaths. We're working with the 5-second inhale and the 5-second exhale. Just notice how alive your body might feel. And we really haven't done anything intense. Now with this careful awareness, I'm going to ask if you wouldn't mind bringing your weight into the left leg, lifting your right knee up and turning the right knee out to the side to find tree pose. Now, if this is a difficult pose for you today, balance, whatever, have a chair close by, or you can have one hand on the wall. And I want to really see if we can find some cool, calm energy here. So the foot that's still on the floor, root it firmly down into the earth. Imagine you're feeling the coolness of having your foot right in the earth itself. Root the hips down towards the ground. And for our purposes today, let's just keep the hands at the heart instead of reaching up to the sun, because we're doing a cooling practice today. So we'll stay closer to the ground. And find your 5-second inhale and your 5-second exhale. And notice how focusing on the length of the breath may help you to stay out of those overheated thoughts of the mind. Just one more breath here. And then bring the knee forward and come back to mountain pose. And just to kind of release in between sides, get a little bouncy in the knees, get a little bouncy through the feet. So I'm kind of just doing a little bit of, kind of a little bit of bounces. And if you want to, you can actually do a little bit of bouncing. Just gently stay close to the ground until you feel as though you're rebounding on a trampoline a little bit. Let your arms hang heavy. Let your feet be really soft and spongy as you land on the ground. Yeah. And then let that go. Cool down. But notice how sparkly your body might be. Collect your breath. Hands to the heart. And then slowly shift your weight onto the other leg. Lift the knee. Bring it out to the side. Find Vrikshasana on this side. You want to press into the foot that's on the ground. Use your even ratio breath. Notice the focus on the breath, helping the mind to stay calm, cool, maybe even collected. One more breath here. And then when you're ready, release back into mountain pose. And notice the aliveness in the body. So we haven't done a lot of vigorous movement, but there's an aliveness here. When you're ready, we'll take look to the side of your mat. Take the feet wide apart. We're not going to do too many standing poses this morning. And then when you're ready, take the right leg, roll the right leg outward so the toes are facing the top edge of the mat. Step your left leg maybe half an inch forward and internally rotate so the toes are pointing a bit inward. And just notice if that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. Know that there could be a little bit of flex in the right knee as we move in triangle pose this morning. And we're going to work a little bit with some of the movement that we did seated and now bring it into triangle pose. So this arm, so I have my right leg turned down. I'm going to use my left arm here. Take the fingers to the outer elbow bone. Remember we did this earlier. Find the soft tissue around the outer elbow bone. And then when you're ready, we're going to inhale, pull the arm across, and then exhale, pull the arm back. Use your 5-second inhale and exhale. Getting into those tough to stretch muscles of the upper back. So it's almost like our Phantom of the Opera cape move now. I found I needed to adjust a little bit where my fingers were in my elbow joint. And then we might hold. You can keep moving dynamically, but we might hold. So I've kind of got my cape over top of me, and I'm just gently drawing on the elbow joint there in the soft tissue, not too deeply. And I'm directing my breath right now into the left shoulder blade area. 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale. And then release the arms, and sweep up, and turn your feet so that they're parallel. So we often look to get a stretch on this side of the body when we were doing triangle in that way. But you may notice that it's quite a bit different. And just for comparison, I promise we'll even it all out. Just for comparison, let's rotate the left leg and do triangles a more traditional way. So arrange your legs exactly the same way. And then this is the way we normally do triangle. We inhale and we exhale into triangle. So let's just hold this for a couple breaths using our 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale. We can direct the breath into the right shoulder blade area. So we have that same intention. One more breath here. And then let's come back up. Turn your feet parallel. And in my body, the way I'm experiencing this right now is this shoulder blade, the left shoulder blade for you, is still a lot more active in my mind. It's a lot more sensation filled, even though I was supposed to be getting that stretch on that side. So just to make things perfectly even, let's turn the right leg bone out so the toes are facing the short edge of the mat. Set your legs up, and we'll go into traditional triangle on this side, just to see how the work we did with this shoulder blade area, how it makes it feel different. So inhale, exhale into Trikonasana, and then direct your breath, the 5-second inhale to 5-second exhale, into the left shoulder blade area. Now for me, my embodied experience of this is that my left shoulder blade can move. Even though I'm just breathing into it, I have much greater sense of mobility and space in my left shoulder blade area because we did that preparatory work. Take one more breath here. And then come up. Turn your feet so that they're parallel. We'll take a breath before we go and do the shoulder blade work on the second side, because I really still feel, even though I've been doing triangle on both sides now, I still feel this side is so much more alive. So I'm going to turn the left leg now out. Remember, the knee can bend a little bit. Adjust the right leg forward and in a little bit maybe. And then I'm going to take a hold of the outer elbow with these fingers. And I'm going to do my Phantom of the Opera. Leaning a bit forward. And then pulling back up. 5-second inhale. 5-second exhale. Really trying to think about, breathe into the right shoulder blade area. Couple more breaths. No need to rush. And then when you're ready, release the posture. Turn your feet parallel and walk the feet together so you can find mountain pose. Taking a couple breaths in mountain pose, observing the upper back. And what's your experience of the calm or the coolness in your whole body? So we've been really getting actually quite deep into changing the organization of the body, but hopefully we've been staying cool with that. I'd like to come into lunge pose now. Know that if pressure on the knee doesn't work for you, please get a hold of your chair. Have the seat of your chair facing you and the chair butted up against something so it won't move. And then you can come into lunge pose with us just like this. Let me adjust the angle of my camera so you can see that a little bit better. For those of us who are more comfortable to weight bear on the knee, you may want to have some cushioning for under your knee. I appreciate that. And we're going to come into left foot forward lunge. So the right leg is back. And because we're going to work here for a little while, I want to make sure that my right foot is directly behind my right knee and the ankle and the toes pointing straight back. So even if you're using the chair version, check out your right ankle and make sure it's pointing straight back. Many of us dial it from one side to the other. The left knee is over top of the left ankle. And if you're using the chair, you can keep the hands on the chair, or your hands can be on the left thigh, whatever's more comfortable for you. And then when you're ready, we're going to take the elbow, the right elbow, get a hold of the outer bone again, and do our Phantom of the Opera move. So inhaling and exhaling. And you know, you don't have to stay in a single plane of motion here. Now, if balance is really an issue today, keep your left hand on the chair and just move your elbow around. And you'll get many of the same sort of benefits. This is a free range of motion. Let's try this a couple more times. Still trying to stay with our 5-second inhale and our 5-second exhale. And then just for fun, if you need to keep your hands on the chair, one hand on the chair, no problem. But if you are able to lift both arms up, it might be an interesting experience to notice which arm feels longer, which arm feels more able to reach towards the sky. For me, my experience is my right arm is a lot longer than my left arm. You can experience that just for a couple more breaths. And then we could take, if you were using the chair today, you could take down dog with the chair, or you could take a child's pose, or you can take a down dog. I'm thinking I want to stay really cool today, so this posture is serving me well. Just have one more breath to rest between sides. And then let's come into right foot forward lunge. The same principles apply. Right knee directly over the ankle. Back foot, oh, I needed to make a correction there. Back foot straight back. And if you're using the chair for lunge, check out your heel. Your heel might be pointed more to the right or more to the left. You want it straight back. So everything's in a nice vertical line. And then if you need to keep one hand on the chair, if you're using the chair, that's fine. If you're able to let both arms be free, we're going to bend the left elbow, take the fingers to the outer condyle of the elbow, and do Phantom of the Opera. Like Phantom of the Opera cape again. And you don't have to work, as I said, in one plane of motion. There can be a little bit of rolling this way and that way, curving a little bit, circular, figure eight. You know, you're not rigidly held anywhere. But I would encourage you to explore adding now the 5-second inhale and the 5-second exhale. Couple more breaths. And then if it's possible to let both arms lift to the ceiling, see what your lived experience of that might be. And if you need to keep one hand on the chair, that's fine. It would be your right hand that stayed down in this situation. And then just really experience the length of your arms and how you can really reach to the sky. One more breath here. And then let's take our neutral pose, which might be child's pose, or if you were using the chair, it might be your downward facing dog. Now, if you're really not sure about being on your belly, I would suggest that you use a chair for our next movement and turn the chair so the back of the chair is facing you. The chair's not going to move, and your body is very close to the chair. And then when we do the movement of extending opposite arms and legs, you can do the same movement, keeping one hand on the chair and keeping your pelvis square to the chair. For those of us who are comfortable being on the floor, I'm going to invite you to come down onto your belly now. I like to cushion my body with the blanket, as you know. So I'm going to come down onto the blanket. And initially, we'll just find a neutral position. So if you're standing with a chair, that would be mountain pose. If we're lying on our bellies, it's crocodile pose. So make sure your hands give you room to breathe. And allow the big toes to be towards each other and the heels to roll apart slightly. This is going to feel like you're doing something, but actually you're realigning your legs. Gently press the front of the pelvis down to the floor so that you feel a space in your low back. You can stay here as long as you need to, using your 5-second inhale and your 5-second exhale. When you're ready to move, stretch your arms out in front of you. If you're using the chair, you can keep your hands on the back of the chair for extra balance. And this is an extension, a lengthening. So lifting the right leg, the left arm. Keeping both sides of your hips either square to the chair or square to the floor, and lengthen your body as best as you can. Keep your left ear inside your left arm so your head's not craning to look up. And really lengthen as best as you can. Take one more 5-second inhale, and on the exhale, relax. And then the other side, extend the left leg, extend the right arm, stretch as long as you can. So it's not how high you can get from the floor, it's how long you can stretch. One more 5-second inhale. And then relax. Forehead to the hands. Big toes touch and heels roll apart. If you're using the chair, you'll want to turn the chair back around. Grab a blanket or some other cushion that you might have around that gives you a bolster kind of like this. Put it at the back of the chair, and we'll use this to help us find the feelings of cobra pose. So we'll be pushing our fingertips into the sides of the chair and pushing the blanket into the spine and lifting the collarbones and chest. So this will be our experience of cobra pose. If you're still on the ground, you're good. We're going to come into cobra pose. So bringing the hands into little tiger paws. So we're up on the tips of the thumbs and fingers. Spread the tips of the thumbs and fingers away from each other. So this can be done on the chair as well, as I just demonstrated. Activate your legs the way you just did, one at a time, extending them as long to the back of the room as you can, and then bring the legs to the floor firmly. So you want to feel pressure, if you can, under the fronts of the hips, the fronts of the thighs, the fronts of the shins, the fronts of your feet. So they're pressing into the ground. If you're sitting in the chair, press your feet into the floor and really activate your thigh muscles. And now it's an elongation again. The toes are pulling to the back of the mat or into the ground. And as you inhale, we're lengthening the chest up and away. Exhale, lower down. Collarbones are wide. Sternum is reaching away from the hips. We're trying to lengthen the spine in cobra pose today. That's why I'm not worried about pushing up too high from the floor. And I'm using my tiger paws because I really want to lengthen the spine. Use the space we've been working to create. One more breath. And exhale, release. You can come back to crocodile pose or seated mountain pose in your chair. And relax. For those of you seated in a chair, could you please transfer down to the floor, and we'll all make our way over onto our backs. Bend your knees, stand your feet on the floor, and notice how today's practice has perhaps helped you to feel a little cooler. Even though we're deeply reorganizing the tissues of the body, we're doing it and we're really freeing up energy, I hope. We're doing it in a way that stays very languid and soft and calming. There's not a lot of sweating going on. And I've only had one hot flash through the whole class, so I know it's working. So when you're ready, we're going to take the knees in. Notice I'm not using my hands. Take the knees in towards the chest and stretch the legs up. As you inhale, see if you can stretch the arms up as well. And as you exhale, fold the knees, press the arms into the floor, activating the core muscles. Inhale, stretch, lengthen. Exhale, it's almost like you're going to try to push yourself up with just your arm strength here. And inhale, 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale. One more breath. And then roll over to your side and press up from the floor. And I'll use my blanket to create a little lift underneath my tushy. You might need more folds of blanket under your tushy. And sit with your legs stretched straight out and the sitting bones just hooked over the edge of the blanket. We'll start here in staff pose. And when you're ready, bend your right knee and let it fall out to the side. You may find that you want to prop up the knee in some way with a pillow or a blanket. We're going to come into a little bit of movement here. Know that your left knee should not be locked in this little series, and even it can be bent quite a bit if you find that that just makes you feel like you have more space. So we'll start with moving the ankle, and I don't think you can see that where you are, but as I inhale, I'm going to point the toes away from me, and as I exhale, I'm going to flex the ankle. So that's the beginning of this. Again, we're working at the level of fascia here. We're working to really pull from the toes all the way up through the crown of the head. So that's the start. Inhale, point the toes, exhale, pull away. As you inhale now, lift the opposite arm, stretch the whole front of the body. And as you exhale, fold forward, taking your arm to the opposite left side of the leg. Inhale, point your toes, open. Exhale, flex your ankle and reach across the body. So here we go with our Phantom of the Opera move again. So know what that experience feels like. Let's bend the elbow, take the outer elbow bone, inhale, and then exhale. Notice if there's more range of motion. Now you've initiated this from the elbow joint, as we did many other postures today. Take 2 more breaths moving. And then coming into the posture, you can let go of the elbow, let your arms rest wherever they rest, but notice you may have come more into the forward fold than you expected. 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale. When it comes time to move out of the posture, move mindfully and slowly and adjust back into staff pose. Feeling the whole right side of your upper back, right side of your neck, the right side of your jaw. All of that might feel a little bit different. When you're ready, we'll bend the left knee and let it flop out, and you can have support underneath this knee if that makes you feel more comfortable. And we start on this side the same way. Inhale, point the toes. Exhale, flex the ankle. We're using our timed breath that we've been practicing all the way through class. And we know that this pulling of the ankle joint moves right up through the crown of the head. On your next inhale, stretching open. Exhale, moving forward as you flex the ankle. Slow, deliberate movements. Timed with your breath. And after you get a lived experience of your range of motion here, what would happen if we put the Phantom of the Opera cape move into this side? So grabbing a hold of the outer elbow. And same movement of the ankle joint, same rate of breath. Just a little bit more, a little bit deeper experience of the posture as we move from the elbow joint. A couple more breaths. You don't want to be really pulling or forcing the body here. Just moving into a deeper dimension. The next time you come forward, you can release the arms, you can keep the foot flexed. And notice if you feel like you can come into the posture deeper than you expected, because we really involve the whole body, upper back, even to the elbow joint, even down to the toes. Take your even ratio breaths here. And when it's time to slowly release, use your arms to help you push up and come back to staff pose for a couple breaths. Really being aware of the area around the shoulder blades. We've been doing a lot to get into those muscles in there, the connective tissue of the shoulder joints, around the blades, even up into the neck and the scalp. Okay. I'm going to ask you to come into your comfortable seat again. I'm coming a little closer to the computer to show this. So you want to fold your blankets a couple more times or sit in your chair if that's more comfortable. And now just a few calming breaths here. So sticking out your tongue, and I can't really do this. Some people can make a beautiful U channel with their tongue, but like that. So you want to create a tunnel for the breath. And this is an inhale through the mouth, through that tunnel, and an exhale through the nose. Let's try our 5-second inhale and exhale a couple times with the tongue in that shape. So this is what it looks like. Close your eyes if you like. I'm taking 2 more breaths like that. Just sit for a second, noticing if that was a cooling way to breathe. It's called Shitali breath. Shitali breath. Okay. If you're using a blanket under your spine for laying down work, let's get that into place and let's make our way down onto the floor, grabbing your strap as you come through. So lying down, knees bent, feet on the floor. And then taking one leg closer into the body so you can hook the strap over the ball of the foot. And extending the leg straight. So here we go into hand to big toe pose. If possible, could you please press the lower back and press the sacrum firmly to the floor? From that firm grounding, grow the sole of the foot towards the sky. Notice the stretch you're getting on the back of the leg. Notice your range of motion. And then let's try something. Transfer the strap into the other hand. So for me, I'm using my right hand, left leg's in the sky. Bend the knee, take a hold of the outer knee bone, and against the resistance of the strap, move from the knee joint and just kind of like move it around and push your foot out into the strap. So we did this kind of thing from seated earlier, and we're doing it now from a different position. Try to keep your back firmly rooted into the ground. So this is a movement for the hip and the knee and the ankle joint. Okay. All right, we did that a few times. Reestablish an even ratio breath if you've kind of forgotten about it for a minute, and come back into the posture the way we originally experienced it. Make sure your knee, ankle, and toes are in one straight line with your hip point. Straighten the leg, and notice if you feel like you have a little bit more aliveness in this leg. The option is always there to take the other leg straight if this leg is straight up to the ceiling. If you need to drop this leg quite a bit, keep this knee bent. Press down through the parts of your body that are touching the floor and press up through the sole of the foot. Take your 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale. And then slowly release the tie, release the leg. If you stretch out flat for a second, if that's available to you, you may perceive a leg length difference on the side we've been stretching. Let's even things out. We'll start with the legs bent. Take the tie around the ball of the foot and extend the leg. And just get a sense of your range of motion on this side. It could be different than the other side. Just so you can compare what happens after you do the release techniques that we've been playing with today. Okay, bending the knee, tie in opposite hand, find that outer knee condyle, and then kind of moving around. Your foot is pressing into the strap, but your fingers are also hooking the knee joint back towards you. So there's a sense of lots of activity guiding the leg. It's like that Phantom of the Opera cape move, but we're doing this with the leg now. And there's no real rules for this. We're just kind of being aware of the connective tissue around the knee as we move the foot into space. And the strap just provides a little bit of extra resistance, so you're paying attention a little bit more. And now if you've lost the 5 count inhale, 5 count exhale, bring it back. And then let's try the pose again after our release technique. And you may find a little extra room in the pose now. The parts of your body that are touching the floor, press them down actively to the floor. The parts of your body that are reaching up to the sky, actively reach the foot away from you. Remember, if the leg is more at this angle, you want to keep this knee bent. It's only if the leg is at a 90-degree angle to your body, should the other leg maybe think about straightening out. Take a couple of our regulated breaths. And then we can release. The strap to the side. If you're okay with straight legs in Shavasana, let's do it that way today. Straight arms, straight legs. If you really need extra support, of course, you're going to take that. Let's release all counting, all manipulation. Release all need to organize anything. Close the eyes if you can. And let the weight of your body connect to the earth. Release the weight of your body to the earth. And feel the cool, solid, confident embrace of the earth. Let your whole body be liquid like a lake pooling on the earth. Let your body be liquid and held by the earth like a lake. And let the surface of your lake gradually calm. So the movements of practice and the wavelets that they created settle down, smooth out. Let the breath be soft. Let the breath arrive gently and delicately into the lake of your body. Just creating the gentlest of waves. Feel the depths of your lake. And move to the bottom. And feel the coolness of the earth holding your lake. And let yourself spread and fill all the little nooks and crannies of the earth with the liquid of your body. If you have a little bit more time today to spend in Shavasana, I think that's a delicious idea. Or perhaps you have other things planned, so you may want to prepare for a transition back to an active world. Wiggling the fingers and the toes and being slow and calm. Gradually making your way to a seated position. You might want to take your left hand over your heart and your right hand over your left. And bring the tips of the thumbs, the pads of the thumbs to touch and the other fingers to wiggle apart from each other. And just let that hand gesture rest over your heart. You might tip your chin gently towards your heart. What we're doing here is we're creating a connection through the thumbs, which is representative of sun energy in some traditions, and fanning out the fingers towards the shoulders and out around your body into your aura, into your energy field. Just let that sun energy from the center of your body radiate out around your body, and let that cool you to dissipate some of the heat, and let that help you feel wrapped, cocooned, calmed. Take a breath in and out. Let's finish our class by sharing the sacred sound of Om. So I'm inhaling, releasing my arms. Namaste.